My name is Mr. Victor. Uh, Today we're treating economics. And we'll go into the first thing we talked about is the introduction of economics. Now, what is economics? Economics is a social science subject which teaches about human behavior in relation to ends and scarce means which have alternative use. Now, economics have scope. There are problems of economics, there are scope of economics. We also have scholars who give different definition of economics like Lionel Robbins and so on. What are the scope of economics? The scope of economics includes two things, which is micro economics and economics. Micro economics and macro economics. When you hear the word micro means something small. In biology, micro is something that is so small that you may not be able to see with your naked eyes. So in economics, we also have what we call microeconomy. Microeconomy is talking about individual. It's talking about market, individual. It's talking about a firm. It's talking about individual. It's talking about something small. While macro is talking about a large market. So those are the scope of economics. So, for instance, the large market, we can actually relate the large markets to a Nigeria settings. Nigeria is a big market. Now, the big market we are talking about in Nigeria now, we practice what we call a mixed economic system. What's a mixed economic system? A mixed economic system is a system of governments. It's an economic system which includes socialist system and capitalist system. What is socialist system? A socialist system is a socialist economic system, a system in which the government controls the means of production, distribution, and exchange of goods and services. While a capitalist system is an economic system in which individual controls the means of production, distribution, and exchange of goods and services. The individual. So this socialist system and capitalist system mixed together is what we have today as mixed economy. And Nigeria is a big market, so we can actually say Nigeria practices what we call a macroeconomic system, where we have a large scale, a large market. So also, now, the socialist system, the socialist economic system and the capitalist economic system, propounded by Karl Marx, is actually trying to make us see that individual can actually venture into economies, and a country can actually get involved in economic system, like Nigeria, for instance. The private individual I'm talking about is private individual establishing firm, establishing a business, like for instance, Dangote. Let me use Nigeria as a case study. Nigeria now, we have government running a business and we have individual running business. Government has business they run, like for instance, NNPC is owned by the government. They produce, they refine oil, crude oil. We also have, that is the government establishment. We also have a private individual called Dangote, who also have a refinery run by individual. So the inclusion of the government and inclusion of individual makes it a mixed economic system. So it's a large market. So now we also talked about the problem of economics. What are the problems of economics? One of the problems of economics is number one, what to produce, how to produce, where to produce, and for whom to produce for. Where to produce, number one. I talked about that. Where to produce? Where to produce has to do with the resources. For instance, now, if you want to produce cement in this particular place, let's say for instance where I am. If you want to produce cement in this particular place where I am, if you don't have the resources like limestone, so there must be a resources, there must be resources around this particular place for me to produce that particular product. So if the resources is not available, it becomes a problem. That means I can't actually produce that particular product here. That is where to produce. How to produce? How to produce actually goes along with the things you are going to use to produce. How are you going to produce it? the formation of how to produce that particular thing for in order for people to actually, in order for customers to actually patronize that particular goods you actually want to produce. How? And who to produce, what to produce, sorry, what to produce goes along with what the customers demand for. Sometimes you can't produce what is not demanded, you will run at loss. So before you can actually produce a particular product, that means that particular product must be a particular product that is scarce in in the market, and the customers actually wanted that particular commodity. When you look around you and you discover that there's a particular thing that is scarce and the resources is available, either capital resources and the natural resources, whatever resources that you can actually use to produce a particular thing, then after you realize that people actually needed that particular product, you can actually produce it because you know that this particular product will not be a waste. So, like for instance, now Nigeria exports crude oil. Why is Nigeria exporting crude oil? Is because we discovered that the world actually needs crude oil to run businesses. Like for instance, now industries, many of the industries, even the cars we use, they need fuel, they need diesel. So they need these things to run industries, and they need it to also make use of for our day-to-day activity. So definitely it is important. So when you produce this particular thing, definitely you actually get your reward, you actually get your profit. Don't forget the fact that the major reason why we do business, the major reason for that particular production is for profits. In private enterprise, or let me just say enterprise, entrepreneur, the reason why they actually go into business is for profit, for profits. Now, away from that, now I would also love to talk about the example, which are the price system, the inflation, the unemployment. These are also part of the micro and macro economy, microeconomy, which includes inflation, it includes unemployment, it includes price system. These are things that we are talking about today. And I believe that in our next class, we'll talk more on this particular topic, and we'll also talk more on other topics. This is just the introduction. In our next class, we'll talk more on other topics, and we'll shed more light on this particular one. So before I go, I will drop some questions on the screen. You attempt those questions, and in our next class, we'll talk more on it. Thank you, and God bless you.